Okay, this first project I'm going to be doing here is scraping the popcorn off of a ceiling. I've had a lot of people ask me how this is done properly, and I've got bids for this kind of work. There's a lot of prep work involved, and it's very messy. Also, it's a highly skilled labor, so if you don't know what you're doing, you can screw up. It looks easy, but you can screw up the ceiling, and then repairing that damage can make it worse than when it started. You might wish you'd left the popcorn. So do it if you're comfortable with it, otherwise hiring a professional might be a good idea. For a job like this, someone might charge anywhere from $1,500 to several $1,000s. I think it's easy money you can save if you're willing to do a little sweat yourself. I've got a respirator here. This is rated for mold and things like that, so it'll keep me safe. This is what you're really looking for. This tool is the key to the project. Popcorn ceiling scraper. You can get this at Home Depot or Lowe's for about 10 bucks. You put just a little grocery bag on the end of it. That way when you scrape it, it falls right in there. Another key is to make sure that your ceiling hasn't been painted. You can do that very easily. I'll show you in a second just by putting your thumb up there. If little pieces pop off, you know that it's been hasn't been painted, and it's going to slide off smoothly and nicely. If it has been painted, it's going to have a hard shell over it, and it's going to be very difficult. It's going to require a lot of muscle. You're going to chip the top up. It's going to be a lot of patchwork. Aside from this, the second key is spraying it with water. I'll show you how that's done. I've got a regular pump sprayer here. This is just a little 1 gallon pump sprayer. I filled it with water, and I'm going to use this to just spray the ceiling. I've went and protected all my floors. I've got a layer of plastic, then paper and cardboard to keep it protected. But you really want to put almost a ridiculous amount of water up here. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this protection on. Let's see. Oh. You can't hear me when I've got that on. But this is just water. Let this really soak in there. You want it almost soaking wet. The wetter the better. I've got a fan blade on this right now, so it's spraying out a nice fan of water. I'm going to let it soak in for just a second. The reason that I'm doing this, there's a few reasons. One, it makes it nice and smooth. That blade's just going to peel it off like butter. Also, it makes it so that there's no dust, so it'll fall cleanly right below into your little tool that you picked up. So if you do it right, you do all the labor yourself, you can do this whole job for about 10-15 bucks. Okay, now that that's nice and soaked in, hopefully this will peel off smoothly, but you really want to use a lot of water just on this little maybe 5 foot by 4 foot patch. I guess a total of 8 foot by 4 feet. I've used about half a gallon of water, so you really want to soak it in there. You can see here with my thumb, it's just falling right off. So I've got my blade here. I'm going to get it at about just a very slight angle, and you can see not a whole lot of muscle. That just fell right off. Leaves a nice smooth finish below. You want to be careful not to damage the paper. This is sheetrock underneath, and it has a paper on top. That paper will give you enough strength not to cut through it, but since it's wet, if you hit it at an angle, you can damage it. So I'm just going to move this across, and you can see how nice and clean and easy this goes. I want to take this all the way to the wall, hit it to the edge, and then pull it down. I see this job done wrong all the time. You see right along the edge, you can tell that somebody scraped the popcorn off because there's these little this little edge of popcorn, about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. So bring it to the edge and then pull it down, and that'll cut you a nice clean finish. Now, as you go along, I've made a little bit of mess down here on the floor. I'll show you what that looks like. But keep in mind, I've got 1/2 gallon of water up there in addition to the weight of the material, and that's all falling in this bag. So right now, this bag weighs a solid 6 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but most people aren't used to doing work above their heads, so you're using the opposite muscles that you're used to. So it can be very difficult. I don't have my mask on because it's so wet that I'm not creating any dust, so I don't need it or my eye protection. But if I did run into a patch where it was painted over and it was creating dust, that's why I have my respirator and eyeglasses handy. So I'm just going to empty this bag. You could put a new bag each time, but I found it saves a lot of time to just dump the contents of the bag and keep this on here so you can work a lot faster. So I'll continue to do the work. I'll throw it in fast forward so you can watch some of it done. Walk around the corners and clean it up. Those edges you can see up there, that tape line, I've kind of damaged a little bit, so I'm going to have to come back in, and if it's damaged too much, I'll have to pull all that tape up and re-tape and float those corners. Hopefully I can get my utility knife, maybe just cut a little piece out, smooth it over with a little thin layer of mud, and take it from there. But you can see that's a pretty smooth, clean finish. When that dries, it's going to be nice, fresh sheetrock. Hopefully the rest of the job goes as easily as that little bit did. Alright, I'll take you in for a closer look, and then this is where I'll end the video. So you can see that I've made a bit of a mess. Luckily we've got everything protected and covered. Covered the stairs. This is how much waste we have, and it's quite heavy. It has about 1 gallon of water, and then of course all the debris from the ceiling. You can see the streaks down the walls soaking with water, so make sure you're not doing this method on some walls you don't intend to repaint, especially if you have flat paint. Get you up for a closer look. So you can see right here is a damaged area. This is where the paper came up, so I'm going to have to put some mud over that and smooth it over. There's also some little pieces of tape that we had to cut out, and you can see we took the tape completely off on this ridge vent. So the process from here, we're doing it in little sections. We finished this section. We've got a relatively clean edge, a couple little pieces of paper that we'll need to cut and clean up, but all of this is going to need some fine-tune and repair after we're done. So we finished this section in about 30 minutes, and I'd say that's 1/3 of this room. This room is about 10 feet by 14 feet. So this project is not a quick one, and I don't recommend it for someone who doesn't want a great looking result or has some skill, because it's not as easy as it looks. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. So I wanted to show you guys what this room looked like when it was finished. Total job took me about 2 hours. That did not include covering the carpets. This came off pretty smoothly. It was a successful job. You can see we'll have to re-tape that ridge joint. We were able to get some nice clean edges on the corners, and there's only a couple of little spots where we had paper come up, and those aren't too hard to fix as long as you don't have too many of them. Okay, I've got another tip. As you can see by my shirt entirely soaked through sweat, this is hard work, hard labor, but I wanted to show you some of pulling this down with an extension pole. I'm able to cover the same amount of area in about 30 minutes than I did in 2 hours up here with the extension pole, but you have to be very careful. Anytime you get clever with construction, that usually balances with quality. So if you're trying to take too large of a strip, you might catch a corner, rip up the paper. So if you're in a room like I was before, you don't really have much of a choice but to do it on your hand strength. But if you have the ability to stretch out, you can see how long of a strip I can take off in a single push. Saves a lot of time, and then you can go little passes over for some areas if you kind of see that it didn't come off completely cleanly. Keep in mind that you've got about 5 pounds on the end of this 12-foot long extension pole, so it's extremely heavy holding it at the end. But if you have the ability to use an extension pole in your space, I recommend trying to do it. You're able to do a lot longer stretches, a lot faster. Also, it's great for, I've got 19-foot ceilings here.